Okay guys, today we're going to show how to fix a little blemish in your floor. You can see right here, this is quite a bit jagged. It's been scuffed up a bit. I think back when I originally did this floor, probably 8 years ago, I didn't do a very good job because, well, you know, I had to take like 30 years of paint off. Multiple layers of paint. So by the time I got down to where the wood was showing, I'd kind of given up and said, I'm done. So this, you know, not flush, not smooth, not, you know, it's kind of messed up. And the wife stepped on it the other day and got a splinter. It's been covered by a rug for years. But now the rug, we changed out the rug so it's a smaller rug and it's showing, and she got a splinter. So we're gonna go ahead and fix it. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna sand it down a bit. Now I'm using 100 grit sandpaper. I figured I'd start off with that because it is flaky. Okay, now you can see the area is fairly well cleaned out. It is still a little jagged here. I just pricked my finger a little bit, and there's a little bit of a groove down here. To get that groove off, I would have to get like a 40 grit paper or a 20 grit paper, and I would have to sand, and then it would make the floor uneven. So we're going to try to fill that in with the polyurethane and try to make that a little flush with poly instead of trying to sand that out. For the most part though, it did flush up pretty good. It's just that one spot there that's really divoted in. And I should probably fix that one little itty bitty corner there. Just to give it a better feel, because I don't want anyone to need more splinters. So with that done, we're going to go find our stain, and well, we're going to clean up first. Then we're going to go find our stain and get stained. Okay, I swept it up and I wiped it down with a wet cloth, let it dry a little bit, and I almost put colonial maple in here because I know I used colonial maple in the kitchen. But I think I used red oak out here. And I almost messed up and almost put colonial maple on because the two floors look very similar to me. And now it does have a little bit different look, so I probably should have stuck with the colonial maple. But it should lighten a little bit as it dries anyway. And we still got that little divot right here, so we'll have to make sure we get some extra poly in there. But that looks like about half the boards in the kitchen as far as the dirty, older look to it, which I could sand it off and redo it, but I want to see how this looks first. We'll see if it's okay and manageable, and if we like it, we'll catch back up with you guys here whenever we get ready to put the poly on. Alright guys, you can notice this is quite a bit darker than the other sides here, so that was definitely the wrong color. We're just going to sand it down here real quick again just to get most of that off. And then we're going to try the colonial maple because that's the only other option that I really saw that would be close. This did look a little redder out here, so I thought it was the red oak. Or more red, not redder, more red. So Okay, I decided to go down to a 40 grit paper just because the stain got soaked in, so it's going to need a little more grit to get it off there. Now you can see it's mostly off. We actually got a splinter out of that into the sandpaper, so I'm glad we did that now, because it seems like we missed something earlier. And that's still gouged pretty good over there where it's been damaged. But it feels pretty good. We're going to go back to 100 grit though, just to smooth her up some. Now she feels much better. So we're going to go ahead and sweep it up. We'll catch back up with you here, guys, because we're going to get her cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll catch back up with you guys whenever we're still ready to stain it. And if you guys can tell, it is still a little stained from the previous attempt. That's okay though. I don't mind a little bit of color variance or variation. I mean, if you looked at my kitchen, you'd understand that sometimes a little bit of different color is not horrible. Okay, guys, we went ahead and got the poly out. I mean, it's dry. It's sat for over an hour, and of course with poly, you don't want to shake it up. Now this is an old can that's been out in my garage for about a year or so. I'm not entirely sure there's going to be any poly in it or any liquid left. I thought about shaking her up, but I know you don't do that because that'll leave bubbles, and you don't want bubbles in your poly. So awesome, it's still. So we're going to stir it up a little bit here. So that's what you do with poly. Very steadily, evenly stir so you don't create bubbles. And then we're going to. Ooh, that smells good. It looks like we are basically from here. It looks like we're over to here, but we're not. We're only over to here. So that's the first coat. We're going to do 2 more coats. So we're going to put the lid back on here. Set that brush right on top of the lid, that way we can use it again later. This will be the first coat. We'll catch back up with you guys when we put the second coat on. Because we're just touching up this one little itty bitty spot here. So, well, this coat's pretty much dry, so a little tacky, but it's mostly dry. So we're gonna go ahead and put the second coat on here. Alright, we're going to let it sit again for a while, and then we'll put our third and final coat on to be done with this for now. But I think it looks fairly good. Although if I look at the camera, it looks a little bit, the camera shows a little bit better than what my eyes can see looking at it. Okay. There we go. And it looks like there is a spot in here. It's a little thicker. Oop, over here. Nope, just looks weird on the camera. Alrighty. Well, we'll be back here in a little bit once this dries, and we'll put the third and final coat on, and then we'll be done. Second coat's mostly just tacky, drying pretty well, so don't want to touch it too much though, because we don't want to leave fingerprints in it, and that just doesn't look very pretty if you do that. So we're going to put our last coat on here. It's not perfect. It's just not how people are. They look at it from standing up, and standing up it's going to look fine. Down close, you know, they'll notice this little divot here from the old one of the sanders that I used 7 years ago to sand, where it left a pretty good divot. And then this is the spot that we were mainly trying to fix, was right in here, of which that should be fairly well filled in. We're not going to touch it right now. And then of course, if there's any wave in here or any higher spots, gravity will help pull it down a little bit, level it off a little bit. Might have a little bit of like a wavy spot in it, but I'm not overly concerned with that. I got a wavy spot in the kitchen. It's really hard to see unless you know what you're looking for and actually get down and look at it. So as far as the floor itself, from standing up, walking through, you'll never notice it. We'll see what it looks like here in about an hour to see how well we did. Well, okay guys, turned out alright. I mean, it's not perfect. Doesn't have to be though, never has to be. You see a slight discoloration in it, and that's because I used the wrong stain at first, and when I sanded it off I didn't get all the stain out. But as far as it goes though, I mean, it does just look like it's a little more worn and a little more dirty, so it just adds a little bit of character. We do have some other spots, you know, that are darker in color as well. It's just this board here really does seem a bit miscolored, but the whole board is miscolored. I mean, even where I didn't repair it, it's still quite a bit darker than the rest, so it might have been a different wood to begin with anyway. And the spot that we were trying to clear it up does seem fairly clear, fairly good. It is still just a little tacky, because we did put that last coat on a little thick. But we can resume normal wear and tear on it within the next hour or so, but it's not going to change in color from what it already is or currently is. It's going to stay exactly the way it looks now. Now if you look at it from here, I mean, you can tell that it is slightly discolored where it's at, where it's a little bit more shiny where it joins up. It's part of that's because it's still just a little bit tacky. The other part's because it's a fresh, clean coat of poly, and the other poly is over 7 years old, so it's going to be a little different. As it gets walked on and torn down from use, it'll even out. It'll even out pretty good. Now, a different angle to look at it here. A little less noticeable here. Of course, part of that's due to the way the table sits, where it kind of looks a little more even. I'd say we didn't do a bad job though. We did pretty good.